What's up, everybody? Welcome into Group Chat Football Live. I am Peter Ariz. Wanted to hop on here real quick this morning, do a quick stream to talk about the news that broke overnight, and that is Colorado, Deion Sanders adding yet another Hall of Famer to staff. Marshall Faulk has been hired as the running backs coach in Colorado. This is an interesting hire. We're going to look at it from all the different angles here as another Hall of Famer, man. You have Warren Sapp there. You have Coach Prime himself, Marshall Faulk. You have such an NFL influence on that staff as a whole throughout the entire staff, right? And Marshall Faulk, this will be his first coaching job, of course. Again, NFL Hall of Famer, legend, played at San Diego State, which really interesting because he was being recruited coming out of high school as a cornerback by most schools, including Miami. Miami really wanted him at cornerback. He said, coming out, I didn't love playing cornerback, so I knew I wouldn't be as successful in that position. And he now gets to coach the position he loves, which is running back, as he, of course, had a great career in the NFL with the Colts, the Rams, and was such a well-rounded, cerebral player. Was probably one of the best receiving running back of all time, right? So did a lot of things at that position that really we see in today's game, right? So I think in terms of coaching the position, even though it's his first job as a coach, right, especially at this level, it is a very it should be a seamless transition. And here you see the tweet official from Colorado, announcing him as a coach here. And just want to get a little bit into the situation at Colorado at running back. So we understand Marshall Faulk is there. Great. What does this mean now for them and their rushing attack, right? Because quite frankly, just looking at the numbers, Colorado, this is according to FBS, their collegefootballstats.com, which takes FBS numbers only. It takes out the FCS games, and you kind of have a level playing field in terms of the numbers. This was the worst rushing attack in the country last season, dead last. Obviously, we understand it was a pass-friendly attack with Deion Sanders, with Travis Hunter, which with some of the weapons you had on the outside there, Jimmy Horn. So they had the 7th least attempts in the country, but the yards per attempt were, it was not good. So you're looking at a situation where obviously the offensive line plays a lot into it, but if you're Colorado, you did not add any running backs through the portal or through your high school recruiting class. What does that mean? They must feel good about what they have there on the roster, on the depth chart. So did not add any freshmen here. Of course, could add someone here after the spring, but you return some backs, a trio of them in particular here, which we'll get into in just a second, that I think they have to feel good about. And again, we'll get into the offensive line additions that they made as well, because that, as we understand, the running game is going to come down to the big boys up in front. And I think as they've tried to the last couple of years here, but really, I think this offseason they might have nailed that offensive line. But offensively, you have Caden Salter coming in at quarterback. He's a guy who can do a little bit of both. He's more of a dual threat option than Shedeur was. We understand Shedeur was more of the pocket passer. Yes, he can extend the play and make things happen with his feet as well, but he wasn't in there taking too many design run hits, right? So Caden Salter, a guy coming over from Liberty who has over 1,600 yards rushing the last 2 seasons, 12 touchdowns rushing 2 years ago, 7 touchdowns rushing last season. So you'd have to expect the run game to as a whole be more a part of their offense this season, right? So that's number one. With Marshall Faulk coming in here and looking at this group of running backs returning, you have a trio of them. So you have Isaiah Augustive, and he's a guy who started his career originally at Arkansas from Naples, Florida. Big back, 6'2", 210. Naples, Florida, not far from Fort Myers, where Coach Prime is from, of course. And he was the leading rusher for Colorado last season with like 384 yards. So obviously not great numbers. Again, not completely to the fault of his own, as we've gotten to. 11 receptions, 62 yards for him. So a guy who showed a little bit of ability out of the backfield. But I think with all these guys, you're going to see their receptions, jump up just because of the nature of Marshall Faulk coaching them, going to teach them a lot of the nuances of coming out of the backfield and getting these one-on-one opportunities against maybe a slower linebacker. And you can take advantage of that, right? So the next guy, Dallin Hayden, began his career at Ohio State, had almost 200 yards rushing last year on 64 carries, 17 receptions for him, 7.8 yards per catch. And this guy was 5'10", 205, so built pretty stoutly. And that, again, Augustive, 6'2", 210, that's you got two pretty stout backs there with a powerful mindset. Michael Welch, who was a freshman last year out of Georgia, 43 carries, 186, 4 touchdowns, had a couple really nice, tough goal line touchdown runs against Baylor, had one against Oklahoma State as well, 8 receptions. So you look at these 3 backs, none of their numbers pop out at you necessarily, but they're all coming back a year older, a year wiser, now being able to get coached by the Hall of Famer himself, Marshall Faulk, who can impart that wisdom on these guys. And again, we talk so much about, well, who'd they add in the portal? Who are their blue chips coming in? The continuity, I think, in this position could be really, really interesting. And again, could they add someone here in the spring? Of course they could. But I think for now, you're going in there with a trio of backs that you have to feel pretty solid about moving forward here. Now, wrapping this whole thing up, it's wonderful that you have Marshall Faulk coaching them. It's great that you have Caden Salter coming in. We're excited about his potential as a dual threat quarterback. But who are the guys up front? And let me tell you, very, very intrigued by what we're seeing here this offseason in terms of who you've brought in. So just take a look at it. 4 additions in terms of the transfer portal. Jordan Seaton, of course, that's your stud. That's the guy that you're building around on that offensive line. He returns. He's the stalwart, right? You have Zy Chrysler coming in from Illinois, guard. So that's a big addition right there. A guy that you're going to slot in and be a starter, expect to be, right? Boom, one right there. Zarian McGill, center, Louisiana Tech, stout, smaller build, 6'1", but really powerful, twitchy, a guy that you can expect to come in and play his role as a center, very experienced player, should be a leader for that offensive line, and someone that, if you're a Colorado fan, you really shouldn't have any worries about that position coming in. Mana Taimani from Ole Miss. This guy's got a really interesting story. He's been playing college football since 2020. He actually redshirted at Ole Miss last season, started his career at Wyoming, goes from Wyoming to JUCO, then goes from JUCO to Ole Miss, plays in 2023 in pretty much all the games, but in special teams role, and then redshirts last season. But you're getting a guy here who has the size you're looking for, 6'4", 345, still is going to have 2 years of eligibility here because he redshirted last year, and very, has a very mature mindset, has a family, and has talked about how he's just been reinvigorated out there in Colorado, and is excited to go out there and get to work. So and then at tackle you have Aki Ogunbiyi from Texas A&M, a guy with a lot of upside, hasn't played much, right? So you're taking a flyer on a guy who's 6'4", 6'5", 330 with some athleticism, and seeing if maybe you can get something out of him here with another year of eligibility. I wanted to go back real quick because I had a couple clips to play from the running backs. And here we go. First off here with Isaiah Augustov. Let me get this graphic off the screen. And you see with this guy here, As the tweet says, runs with violence, best of working in space, really good vision, solid size. I would say more than solid size, man. You're talking about a guy who's 6'2", 210. And look, there's nothing crazy about this run, but boom, good patience makes the guy missing the hole, and it's a touchdown. So again, you see it 6'2", 210. We'll take one more look at it from the end zone here. Boom. And just chopping those feet, man. You know, it doesn't look like a burner, but listen, at that size, with those quick feet, it can go a long way. So that's one. That's Isaiah Gustave again. And then let me pull up one more here, as I believe it was Michael Welch. Yeah, so this is Michael Welch, and this guy's a real bowling ball. Here it is. So you see his build. He's sturdy, low to the ground, and I mean, boom, stiff arm, out of bounds. But that's, you know, the goal line back. Like I said, 2 touchdowns for this guy against Baylor. Tough touchdown runs, you know, from the 1 yard line or so out. But you see Jordan Seaton there, number 77, the left tackle. And this was one of the earlier games of the year, I'm pretty sure. So this was one of the first games of Seaton's career there. But boom, you see him seal it up there. And yeah, running right behind him. I think we're going to see a lot more of that this season for Colorado. And again, big hire here for the Buffaloes. Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk coming in, and we'll see if he can make a difference to that run game that was worst in the country last year. Of course, again, no Shedeur Sanders, so you're going to probably have to rely on that run game a little bit more here, but exciting times in Boulder. See you guys later. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you want more coverage of not only Colorado, but national college football coverage, transfer portal, recruiting news, spring practice updates, and much more. See you guys soon.